Nano Machine by Hanjo Leolia. Chapter 469. Demons. Part 1. Tat Attack. The bandaged man, Huang Hiao, continued to move without taking a break. Thanks to all his efforts, he moved more than 20 miles northwest of Changbai Mountain. It was the result of the non-stop running with his intent to save the man. The blade god was extremely silent on his back. It was because he was concentrating on driving away that black energy that had invaded his body. What the hell is that energy? It seems like it's giving the Lord a hard time. One thing was certain. The dreadful energy was interfering with regeneration. Still, seeing that the bleeding stopped and the body slowly regenerating, it seemed like the energy was releasing. He is late. The bright red-haired man was late. He said that he would stop the pursuers, but it has been more than half an hour, and he couldn't see the man. It was then. Startle. HIA, wait. Lord? At the words of the blade god, Huang Hiao stopped. He wanted to know why, when the blade god looked at the sky to the east. No birds were flying in the sky. The blade god stared intently at the sky with his pale face and bloodshot eyes, and then spoke. Demon. God. The sky, which had been gloomy as it rained because of the white tiger's power, suddenly cleared up. As the sun set over the horizon, the sky was red. The summit of Changbai Mountain was overflowing with dead bodies. The bodies were all being moved to one place by the cultists. How many are left now? There isn't much left. Move quickly. The sun is setting. Yes. People moved under the orders of Baki and Che Takim. Collecting the bodies was being done for the sake of cremation, and Chen Inji, who was next to Chen Youan, who was looking down from the summit, spoke. You have the strength to be ruthless, yet you're kind. Youan. At those words, Chen Youan shook his head and replied. It wasn't for the dead. It was all for the god of the east. At that, Chen Inji smiled and nodded his head. Hearing what happened on the peak, he could fully understand it. Chen Youan was giving permission to cremate the bodies of the Blade God's 6 martial clans members because he wanted to defend the righteousness that Ark Wui had upheld. Wing. On the single stone mountain of Changbai, where the cold wind blew. A tombstone with the words, God of the East, Ark Wui, written on it. His tombstone was made by Chen Youan himself from the rocks in the lake. Chen Youan turned his head and looked intently at the tombstone. You were the best warrior. In the end, the god of the East, Ark Wui, had surpassed both Chen Youan and the Blade God. Without the help of Cores or Nano, he reached that level with his determination as a human. He was truly a warrior worthy of holding the title of the best in the world in this era. Chen Youan thought that the most meaningful thing he achieved by coming to Changbai Mountain was meeting Ark Wui rather than the core. After disposing of those corpses, will you head back to our base and prepare for subjugation? Chen Inji asked. Here, they annihilated the elites of the Blade God's 6 martial clan. And the Blade God, who had to be behind the clan, was seriously injured and fled. They didn't know where the Blade God was headed, but there was only one thing they had to do. It was to strike down the base of the Blade God's 6 martial clan, which had lost its leaders and main force. Before that, there is a place we need to go. A place? I think we should take a look at the records that grandfather copied from their clan. That record must be written by the Blade God. If he recalled what the man in bandages said, Chen Youan thought that it could contain secrets of how the Blade God tried to change the future. I need to know what that man is aiming for so I can catch him. He left injured, but that didn't mean that the Blade God died. And if the Blade God couldn't die, then this would never end. It will be on our way back, so I guess it will happen on the way. Today, the sun is already setting, so we should cremate all those bodies, go down the mountain and spend the night to prepare for our departure early tomorrow. Kwang! Ah! A scream erupted from somewhere. Chen Yuan and Chen Inji looked back at the same time. The scream came from the place where the lake was still frozen. Whoa! The huge corpse of the decapitated black tiger was giving out energy. The black tiger was the fallen white tiger, a spirit beast. Even though he was corrupted, his blood was still raging with energy. All of the blood was drained, and the 6 swords Ko Wanger and Ho Sanghua, including 6th Elder Mong Mu, were ordered to recover what was believed to be the other core of the tiger. But there seemed to be another problem. Kuo! Thud! The one who screamed was none other than Elder Mong Mu. He was on one knee clutching his stomach with his right hand, and his face turned pale from blood loss. There seemed to be someone aiming for his neck. His right hand was stained with blood as he tried to block the attack from Ho Sanghua. Hack! Kook! Ho Sanghua! What's wrong with you? Hu Bong stopped the attack at the moment when Mong Mu would have lost his life. Shaking. What kind of sudden burst in power? Hu Bong's eyes trembled as he held Ho Sanghua's wrist. In terms of pure power, she always used a huge axe as a weapon, but in close combat, he was superior. However, now her power seems to have increased greatly. Ho Sanghua! Calm down. Despite Hu Bong's constant cries, she didn't stop and kept struggling. He took a close look at her face. Eyes? The whites in the eyes had turned black. Even though the appearance was eerie, her whole body had vicious energy like a black haze, which was even scarier. This energy is... Swash! Chuck! Just then, with her free hand, which was outstretched, her weapon came. Ugh! Why you don't plan on wielding it, right? Without hesitation, she tried to swing the axe at Hu Bong. Flustered, Hu Bong hurriedly released internal energy as a shield for both of them and looked at Mong Mu. 6th Elder. I'm sorry. Clench. Throw. Kook. As soon as the 6th Elder was moved away, Hu Bong quickly blocked the axe with his hand, which had sword chi on it. Kong. Yuk. The force with which the axe fell was amazing. Even though his hand had sword chi on it, the pain was still great. It wouldn't work anymore. I need to subdue her. Hu Bong, who decided that Ho Sanghua has lost her mind, decided to opt for a different method. Hu Bong's left hand, which was holding the blade of the axe, soon burst into flames. Flame. As sparks began to rise, the blade of the axe began to heat up, and the heat rose to handle. Of course, he thought that she would let go of the weapon, cheek. Ho Sanghua. Ho Sanghua didn't let go of the handle. It was as if she couldn't feel pain anymore, despite her palms burning with smoke and a musty smell coming out. There was a moment when Hu Bong was perplexed about what to do. Kick. Quack. Someone kicked Hu Bong's left ribs. With such a strong blow, Hu Bong's body flew back in an instant. Hu Bong, who was on the ground, barely managed to stand up. Ugh! But he couldn't move because of the broken ribs. Co-leader Ko. His eyes too? What the hell is that? Whoa! The cultists couldn't hide their shock. It was Ko Wanger who kicked Hu Bong. Goo! The giant Ko Wanger was holding a sphere the size of a head, which was emitting a black light, in his right hand. It was the other core of the tiger. Unlike the original core from its chest, which gave out a dazzling light, this one gave out ferocious and evil energy. Hack! What the hell is going on? Ah! Ko Wanger? Samachuk, who was in charge of collecting the corpses, was in close vicinity. Looking at the altered forms of his two friends, he was bewildered. Ko Wanger was exuding vicious energy, but it seemed like he wasn't in control. The cause seemed to be the black core he was holding. Did he come into contact with that? It was dangerous to see Ko Wonger, who had reached the superior master level, engulfed by the black sphere, giving out energy. Ko Wonger, come to your senses, ugh. Pack. Samachuk was thrown back. Ko Wonger attacked him at the speed of light. It all happened so swiftly, Ko Wonger's left fist hit him at once. Damn it. It was then. Thud. Ko Wonger, who was about to swing another fist, knelt down on the floor. It wasn't just him. Ho Sang-hwa, who was holding her axe, also knelt on the floor, staggering, unable to get up. Tat. Lord. Chen Yoan had appeared. He was the one who managed to suppress the two. I told them to be careful. Yet they ended up like this. Chen Yoan frowned as he looked at the black orb in Ko Wonger's hand. It seemed to hold the demon energy of the fallen tiger that had entered the two of them. Ugh. They are getting up. Ko Wonger and Ho Sang-hwa tried to straighten little by little. Perhaps the energy from the core hand flowed into them again. This power seemed far more explosive than the blood of a spirit beast. Demon energy is dangerous. However, Chen Yoan, who achieved the path of demons, was overpowering them. Chen Yoan slightly moved his fingers. And, Kwang. The two who were trying to stand fell to the floor. The internal energy was so strong that they were both digging into the floor, causing cracks. Chen Yoan stretched out his left hand. Wing. Tack. And the black core in Ko Wonger's hand entered Chen Yoan's. El Lord, it's dangerous. Hu Bong, holding his ribs, shouted. When the core touched his hand, the ferocious yet evil energy tried to enter Chen Yoan's body through his palm. At that, Chen Yoan smiled. I guess you are going crazy. Whoa. Ferocious energy emanated from Chen Yoan's body. It couldn't be compared to the small demon energy that the black core was giving out. Inside Chen Yoan, the cores of the five had merged into one. As he realized Mother Nature and achieved the path of demons, he surpassed even the limits of spirit beasts. Swoosh! As if afraid of something, the energy from the black core began to calm down. Eventually, the strong black light faded away. The demon energy was completely suppressed. Oh! The Lord easily brought down the demon energy. The cultists around were shocked. However, Chen Yoan wasn't. JJJKKKK. Chen Yoan froze the black core. Since it was locked in ice, it couldn't release any more of its power. Now all that was left was to bring Ko Wonger and Ho Sang-hwa back. Ku. Perhaps because they shared the same energy of the black core, they couldn't hide their fear when they saw Chen Yoan and his energy. Chen Yoan's eyes lit up as he put his hand on Ko Wonger, who was unable to get up from the floor. Lord. What is it? Chen Yoan answered Samachuk's question. The core's demon energy is encroaching their insides. It was the equivalent of the sky demon energy acting up in Chen Yoan. In Ho Sang-hwa, the energy had already penetrated through her dantian. Can't the energy be expelled? It wasn't such a simple thing. If you try to get rid of the energy which has penetrated inside, the dantian will be damaged. If that happens, it would be fatal for the person. But, if we leave them like this, won't Ko Wonger and Ho Sang-hwa become obsessed and turn into evil demons? At Samachuk's words, Chen Yoan's eyes darkened. As the one beside him was puzzled, Chen Yoan spoke. There is a good way. Yes? Chapter 470. Demons. Part 2. Hearing that there might be another core inside the dead body of the white tiger, 6th Elder Mong Mu and the Six Swords Ko Wonger and Ho Sang-hwa decided to bring it out. Despite being dead, the flesh and carcass of the tiger were hard. It was tough to cut it with internal energy or weapons, so they had to dismantle it with sword chi. Slash. Ugh, is there really another core? Ho Sanghua frowned at the sticky black blood which was dripping onto her. Although she had reached the end of the Supermaster level, she was still weak compared to Ko Wanger and Mong Mu. No. I can definitely feel it inside. So do I, Elder Mong Mu. Although the body was huge, the two could still feel the presence of the energy. When the body of the dead dragon turtle was dismantled, its spiritual energy didn't flow to this extent. It seems to be there. Ko Wanger, who was slashing the flesh, pointed to somewhere. Mong Mu then cut the area as carefully as he could. Chow. A strange light shone through the flesh of the dead white tiger. Usually, the light was bright, but this looked dark. Whoa. If it was a core, then pure divine energy had to come out, but this energy was dark and ferocious like evil. Ominous. Still, it has to be the core. It was clear from the strong energy. All they had to do was move it out. Elder Mong Mu, who held a higher position than them, gave orders to Ko Wanger and Ho Sanghua. Lord said that this core's energy is strong, so direct contact with it is dangerous. The flame Qilin's core, which was made of flame Qi, would burn everything that touches it. Likewise, the core of the dragon turtle would electrocute people by releasing lightning if touched. Chen Yuan had asked these three to grab the core because of their strong skills. Understood. Ko Wanger wrapped both his hands in energy and carefully placed his hands around the vicious core. Tack. That moment. Pop a pack. Huh. What's this? He obviously covered his hands in energy. Yet, the energy pierced through it and seeped into his body. Ko Wanger immediately tried to expel the energy, but the speed at which it was seeping into his body and spreading was beyond his imagination. When Ko Wanger became stiff and unable to move, panicking, Ho Sanghua shouted, "Wanger! What's happening?" When there was no answer, she hurried and tried to remove the black core from Ko Wanger. As she knew not to touch it, she tried to shake Ko Wanger's shoulders to make him drop it. Hya! Tremble! Tremble! Ominous energy began to enter her body the moment she put her hands on him. That was all they remembered. Everyone needs to be killed. Everything has to be destroyed. When the vicious energy engulfed their bodies, they became captive to the demonic nature of the energy, and feelings of hatred and anger began to rise. But things changed as something overwhelming entered their bodies. It seemed purer and a lot more vicious than the initial energy. Whoa! Abyss-like energy filled with darkness controlled the vicious energy which had begun to rage in their bodies. The energy which ran out of control soon became a part of them. Oh! A shudder came over them. People couldn't hide their shock at what was happening. A little while ago, these two people who had been possessed by the demon energy and running around with murderous intent were now sitting on the ground and meditating. Shoo! A black haze was covering their bodies like a cocoon. Within them, the demon energy slowly stabilized. It was Chen Yuan who was doing it. With this technique made by Nano for using the sky demon energy in swords, we can control the energy. The sword force of the sky demon was a technique that Chen Ma had created to deal with the sky demon energy. Although it was the most effective, it was something that only the lords could learn, so Chen Yuan had to use it on them with the help of Nano. Done. It's stable now. It was successful. Those whose energies were being eroded by the demon energy were slowly controlling it. Now, even if Chen Yuan removed his hands, they could handle it. Now it's up to them. If they can control the demon energy stably inside their bodies, then they'd be able to have spiritual energy like Hu Bong's flames and Baki's lightning. And it wasn't long. Whoa! The cocoon of black haze around Ko Wanger disappeared like a blooming flower. And the two, who were done, opened their eyes. The cultists who were looking at this were all tense. Oh! The eyes which had turned black were back to their original state. Samachek and Hubong, who were standing near them, exclaimed, "Are you two fine? Ko Wonger. Ho Sanghua." The energy from the two people who managed to subdue the vicious energy was different. Like when Chen Yuan would release his energy, it felt ferocious and dark. Ko Wonger looked at his hands in disbelief. Black haze was rising from both palms. Woon. They radiated the demon energy which had been embodied. What is this? As the energy was felt, he could feel just how much the energy was maximizing his power. It seemed like he could crush anything. Ho Sanghua too was confused and wondered about the energy. Wonger. What is this? They were the ones who had their bodies eroded by the energy. Sanghua. Pushing aside the question, Ko Wonger, who confirmed that his lover was fine, smiled. Then came a voice from behind them. "I see that you are up. Lord." The two of them immediately knelt on one knee. Embarrassed, Ko Wonger spoke. "We apologize. You warned us to be careful, but we made a huge mistake." He didn't know what he did, but he remembered what happened before he lost control. As if not caring, Chen Yuan responded, "No. If I had known that the demon energy inside it was this strong, I would have retrieved it myself." Even a superior master like Ko Wonger lost control. If it was this strong, either Mara Kim or Dan Jushin should have been asked to grab the core. However, those two weren't in the position to take orders as they were still healing their internal injuries. Still, thanks to Lord, our lives were saved, and you prevented a major accident. Thank you for the grace you've shown. Thank you for the grace you've shown, my Lord. If it wasn't for Chen Yuan, no one knew what would have happened and how many cultists would have been killed. The two were truly grateful that nothing major happened. Of course, 6th Elder Mong Mu almost lost his life. But Lord, is it fine if I ask just one thing? Chen Yuan nodded at Ho Sangwa's question. When we were using the technique that Lord was guiding us with, the demon energy established itself in the Dantian. I have no idea how. Vicious demon energy. That energy was completely different from spiritual energy. It was natural for her to wonder. Chen Yuan smiled at the two. Sky demon energy. No, it's demon energy. Demon energy? A destructive demon energy, which is the complete opposite of divine energy. Chen Yuan named it from the sky demon energy and called it demon energy. It was the origin of the true demon who made the sky demon order which they worship. Chen Yuan was happy looking at the two who were doing fine. If we can teach the other warriors of the cult about demon energy, then we will be able to respond to even enemies with spiritual energy. It was something that Chen Yuan came up with because of the concern of Samachek. Just as Chen Ma made it possible for future generations to prepare for the crisis, Chen Yuan laid a new foundation for the demonic cult to stand tall, the demon energy. Time passed. The day had set, and the cremation of the bodies collected near the lake was finished. Only burnt black ashes remained. Wing. Cultists were holding torches as they descended from the mountain in a line. It's dark, be careful walking down. For those who go down first, prepare the barracks right away. Yes. At the top, the smell of blood and burnt flesh remained, which was why they were forced to move down. There were people who were looking down the mountain. It was Chen Yuan and Mun Ku. When he saw the last person heading down, Chen Yuan asked with a puzzled expression. You said you had something to say. Will you talk now? These two had waited for all the others to head down first. It was because Mun Ku said she had something to say. When he asked, Mun Ku said that she wanted to talk when it was just the two of them. Mun Ku? At Chen Yuan's question, Mun Ku's face turned red. He couldn't understand why, but Mun Ku continued to breathe, again and again, clearing her throat and breathing again. HAA. Lord. What do you think about becoming a father? Chen Yuan frowned at the sudden question. Becoming a father. Chen Yuan, who was about to ask a question, suddenly went stiff. Chen Yuan thought that it was strange how Mun Ku was acting. He was confused at her question, but he soon realized what she wanted to say. Tak. Chen Yuan held her trembling hands and asked. Mun Ku, are you? Before he could even ask the full question. Startle. Chen Yuan's gaze turned somewhere. And Nano's voice echoed in his ears. Detected personnel wearing a suit in stealth mode. Stealth mode? Whoa. Chen Yuan's eyes trembled and augmented reality opened up. In the opened-up augmented reality, a figure in red particles a good distance from him could be seen. At that moment, the figure in red particles reached out and aimed for someone. Danger! Something was fired. It was super fast. Chen Yuan quickly reacted and reached for Mun Ku's neck. Pack. Lord? Mun Ku was puzzled but even more shocked when she saw tiny needles between Chen Yuan's middle and index fingers. How dare they? Mun Ku, please wait for me. Swoosh! Chen Yuan disappeared right away. Chen Yuan, who moved right away, reached out and grabbed something. Clearly, nothing could be visible with the naked eyes, but the area shook where his hand reached out to. Show yourself. In the space where Chen Yuan reached out to, something shook. Chuck. The shimmering space cracked, and blue flames burst, revealing someone. It was a strange phenomenon. The person who was caught by Chen Yuan was coughing as if breathing was becoming hard. Quack. Let's talk about this. Chen Yuan's eyes widened as he looked at him. He was a young man in his early 30s with unique clothes that can't be seen in Jianghu. And he was Chen Isa? The descendant who injected the nano machine into Chen Yuan.